Hi there, Nico from Voiceflow. In this video, I will talk about the available knowledge-based APIs. So by default, you can use, in Voiceflow, you can use the AI, response AI and set AI step to use the knowledge base. But while it might work in a good percentage of use case, sometimes you want to go a bit deeper and have again, a deeper customization regarding the answer you want to generate from your docs in your knowledge base. So what this project will cover is not only this, so filtering, avoid hallucinations, stick to the response you have validated, but also the new released tag API. So this is something we've released recently. The tags API will allow you to tag any document you upload to the knowledge base, which is pretty handy because, as you can imagine, you will also be able to filter those documents using those tags. So in the same knowledge base, you can have documents grouped by tags. Either, I don't know, for example, you have different profile of users and you want to share specific docs. You might have more technical users, and then you want to share only documents that are more technical, or you can have also docs only targeting products, for example, and you can also use tags for that. But in that project, I will explain how you can also use tags to, tags documents based on user feedback. That's also something I can see pretty often on Discord, where you are asking for, like, how can I set up a feedback or something like that to allow my user to tell me if this is a correct answer or not. And what we will do here is use those feedbacks to tag a document. So not only this, doing so will allow us to create new documents, and this is still using the knowledge base API that are available today, to create a new document with the question and the answer. And ultimately, what this will help us with is stop using LLM to generate an answer when that answer has been previously validated as a correct answer, reducing the amount of token you are using to generate an answer. So talking about the project, what we've got here is the first setting is to set the API key. So keep in mind that all the knowledge base related API, for this you will need your Voiceflow API key. So this is something you can get from the integration. You can see here, knowledge base API key. You can copy that. This is the key you need to make those requests. And to make that simple, I'm setting the API key to a variable, so the VF API key variable, and then I can reuse that variable into all the different API steps I will use. I've also created a component. So basically, if it will be easier to reuse that in different agents. And this part is just a prompt. So we are just asking the user if they have any questions, and we are capturing the question into the last U-turns using the capture step. So this is the default setup for the capture step. We are capturing the enter user reply, and by default, we are saving this to the last U-turns built-in variable. Once we've done that, we can now enter the optimize KB component. And if we go into this, this is what it looks like. So it's not that much, but it's pretty powerful because this is where we will, so in one flow, we will fetch an answer or fetch some chunks using the knowledge base API, filter those chunks, and if we already have a validated answer, we will use that instead of using AI step or LLM to render or generate an answer. And ultimately, if we are using LLM, we want a validation from our user. So we are using a card with some buttons, so the user can tell us if this is a good or a bad answer. And based on those choices, we will then create a new document into our knowledge base using the KB upload API. So let's start from the beginning. Here we have the first post. So this post is just the query endpoint. This is to fetch your knowledge base using a question. So this is what we've got right there. As I was saying, I'm using a variable for my API key, meaning that ultimately I can copy past that component, use it in another agent, and I will only have to upload or change my VF API key value. And I don't have to go over all my API step and change that manually. Regarding the payload, we have the question. The question is whatever we have in the last utterance variable. Remember, we are using a capture step on the main flow to capture the user question. We are also limiting the chunk to 3. We are not using synthesis, so we are not using LLM to render any response yet, meaning we are not using token. And this is the new part. This is the thing this project is about: tags. So with this filter, what we are doing here is we are saying, okay, whenever you got some chunks, what I want first, it's filter all the documents that have a tag. So include all tag set to true. But we don't want the documents with the need correction tag, because we will see later, but this means that the user says that this chunk or the answer was not great or correct. So this is when we will tag this document as need correction. Include all non-tagged. So this is also to, by default, we will see we are basically using the Voiceflow about page, and this is using a URL. So we will not, by default, this doc will not be tagged. So we also want to include that into the query or for generating the chunks. And ultimately, we will get a response, and from that response, we want the chunks array. So if I go right there, my knowledge base is just the Voiceflow about page. This is a URL. I've already added that to my knowledge base. So if I test that, tell me more about Voiceflow, for example. As you can see, output will be null because synthesis is set to false. So we are not going to generate any answer. We are focusing on getting some chunks, and that's the case here. We only have one document available, one source, which is the URL here. And we have 3 chunks for that, based on that query. So the question, tell me more about Voiceflow. And the content, you can see we have a bunch of this. So basically what the KB is doing is getting those chunks and from the content, generate an answer. Okay, that's the default behavior. This is what you get when you use the AI set step or AI response step as well. But in our case, we have like deeper customization because we can choose what we are going to use and how we are going to use it. So this is for the query. And by the way, this is an API step. So this is what you've got from here. And again, we are using the query endpoint for the KB API. The next step is a condition step to just validate that we've got at least one chunk. So if we have more than 0, so basically at least one chunk, then we can continue. Otherwise, so we have the no match here. Otherwise, we just tell the user that we don't have an answer. So for this, I'm using a text step with some variants just to, so the response is not the same each time, but it's basically to say the user, sorry, I don't have an answer for that. In case of we have chunks for this. So this is what we've seen here with this request. We do have actually 3 chunks. That might be because we are limiting, or maybe that's the number we've got. If let's try 4, for example, let's see if this is going to give us more than, no, still 3. So that's the max we can get from that query or that questions. And next step, we are going to do a validation. And by this, I need to give you more context of what we are going to do. So again, the goal here is to display the answer to the user. And if we are using LLM generated response or answer, user will be able to click on a button to validate or not that answer. And as you can see, if the user chooses that this is a good answer, we are going to set a value to the tag variable. And if that's correct, we've set that value to validated. If it's not, we set that value to need correction. And what we are doing after that, we are creating a brand new document, and we are going to upload that in our knowledge base. So this is what you need to understand to fully, again, understand what is happening here in this code. So this code is meant to, you can ignore this part. This is only to add some time reference in the context we will use to make an LLM request. But basically, we are just using the current date variable to pass the actual date in time. In that case, just the date. We are filtering the chunks for a validated tag. Again, if previously a user chooses to validate the answer, then one of the chunks might have the validated tag. And if that's the case, we want to use that chunk instead of the other. Why so? Simply because this is most likely the best answer you can have because it has been validated. So not only this, but as we are sure this answer is correct, we don't need LLM or AI to generate a new answer. We simply need to render or show the available content of the chunk to the user. You can see that as a splitting kind of thing where by default, we are using our unique source, which is the Voiceflow about page. And each time we are generating an answer and the user validate that answer, we are now creating a new source or a new doc with the question and the answer. So splitting the main source into multiple small sources, and those are just question and answers. And doing so will allow us to, next time the user asks the question, use the answer. And we are also using the question for the KB query. So if I have this, and we will see that in the demo, if I'm making this, tell me more about Voiceflow, I don't have yet a specific doc in my knowledge base for this question. But using those different chunks, I will be able to use LLM to generate an answer. And if the user validates that answer as a good one, next time in those chunk lists, I will have a new one with the validated tags and coming from my newly created source or doc. And that's the one I will use to fetch the content, extract the answer, and show that or share that with the user without having, again, to use any token or LLM function to generate an answer. So again, in this JavaScript step, what this part is doing is basically, do you have a chunk with the validated tag? If that's the case, you might have multiple chunks with the validated tags. That can happen. So what we want to get is the one with the highest score. So again, step by step, we're getting chunks. From that list, do we have a chunk with a validated tag, or a source with a validated tag? And if that's the case, which one, if we have multiple validated source with validated tag, do we have, which one is has the highest score? And if we have that, we will then get an answer. So we can share that answer with the user. And you can see here, we are basically just parsing the content of the chunk to get the answer, because we will see later on that what we are using to create the new source for our knowledge base is just an object with a question and an answer. And we are using JSON stringify to store that in our knowledge base document. So to get that answer back, we will need to parse the value. Okay. If we don't have anything or any validated doc for our chunks, we are just basically grabbing all the available chunks content, join them, and use this as our context in our LLM prompt. So here in that example, because we don't have a dedicated document for that question, what we were going to do is get this, and this, all the content from those three chunks, join all this content in a big string or like block of text, and use this as the context to generate an answer. So basically, this is what the AI step with the knowledge base, sorry, the data source set to knowledge base, this is what this is doing automatically for you. In our case, we want a bit more customization, so we are doing it manually. All right, so this is all for this JavaScript step. As you can see, if we have an answer, we are going to share that with the user. This part is only just a debug thing for the demo, so we can differentiate something that is coming from our created document without using LLM versus another one that will be rendered with LLM. So if we need LLM, we don't have a dedicated document for that question, or we don't have any validation for that answer. So here we are using the set AI step because we need to generate an answer using LLM. So, but we are not using the knowledge base. We are using just an AI model. In that case, that's the default setting, GPT 3.5.7. Actually, we can, yeah. Let's do a 10. And the prompt is, you are an AI assistant helping user with their questions. Here is the context chunk. So this is what we've generated in our previous JavaScript step. Today is current date. Again, this is coming from the date generated in that JavaScript step. Only use the provided context to answer the user question. Last utterance. This is the question from the capture step. Your responses should be fewer than a couple of sentences. Never mention any use of context in your answer. So this is to avoid the based on the context or something like that. Always answer with no answer whenever you cannot generate an answer with the given context. So all this is to be sure that, so we want to avoid hallucination. We want to avoid the LLM to get an answer that is not coming from our knowledge base. So only use the provided context to answer is a part of this. And always answer with no answer whenever you cannot generate an answer with the given context is another one. And as you can see, I'm using this very unique string, so I can flag that in the next step, which is a condition. So we are mapping the answer, the response here, to the answer variable. So now in that condition step, if answer contains no answer, it means that we don't have, the LLM wasn't able to generate an answer using only the context. And this is what we want here. We don't want hallucination or LLM using external source to generate the answer. So no answer. Again, we are just telling the user that we are not able to answer that question. If we have, so if we have something else than no answer in the answer variable, then we are going to display that value to the user, the answer. And we are also showing this card with, for the description, how will you rate this answer? And 3 buttons, happy, middle, and not happy. And after that, you can see that we have an action set for the happy, and we are setting the tag variable to validate it. And for the not happy, tag is set to need correction. This one is doing nothing. It's mainly just to have 3 choices, but yeah, because sometimes if you say just smiling and not happy, users tend to choose one or the other, but maybe the answer is not that bad, or the user is not really sure if the answer is correct. So you want to provide a choice that will do nothing apart from waiting for another user to give you a better feedback. If are telling you, yes, that's definitely a good answer, or no, definitely a wrong one. But up to you. You can also add a tag here. And then, so if it's validated or need correction, we are going to create a new document or add a new document in our knowledge base. And how are we going to do that? It's using the upload API. So this is one of the KB API available. And we are using the file. So you have multiple ways to upload a new doc in the knowledge base. It's using URL or using a file. Obviously, we're not going to create a file in our agent in Voiceflow. So what we are doing here is we are using a JavaScript to basically generate the form data, so emulate a file content. So basically, we can use the upload file API without using a file. So this is exactly what we're doing here. The generate file name function, this is just to generate a file name, a unique file name based on the user question. So we are filtering some part of this. We are removing non-alpha numeric characters. We are adding that dash instead of the space. And we want to be sure that the fill name is no more than 150 in terms of length. And we are using the dot text extension. Once we've got that, we want a content for that like sort of text file. And the content will be this object. So question will be the last 2 turns, so the user question, and answer will be the answer we've generated. So we are using last 2 turns variable here and answer variable here. And we are going to stringify this and add it to our document or text file. Actually, here we are adding this to the form data variable, which contain the content with a bunch of stuff to allow us to use it into this API step with the KB upload endpoint. So content type, again, we are using a multi-part form data here. And the parameters, we want to be sure to overwrite the document each time. And we want to tag it with one of the tags the users choose based on the feedback. So again, if it's a good answer, the tag will be set to validated. So here we will get validated. And this new document will have the validated tag whenever we are going to upload this doc. Regarding the body, this is just the form data variable, so the full content that we are sending. Okay, that step is just a text step with some variants to thank the user for the feedback. Okay, so now that we have that explain, or you get more context on what we are doing this, let's give it a try. So again, I don't have anything else than the voiceflow.com/about. If I run a test and I say, who's Braden, for example, we can see that the source are coming from this. No other documents. Okay, so let's run a test here. I want to be sure to, yeah, we don't need debug mode in this, so let's run a test. Do you have any questions? Well, let's start with who's Brandon? Okay, we go in there. We can see that it's this LLM part, LLM answer. And because this is an LLM answer, we want some feedback from the user. Brayden is the CEO of Voiceflow. Is that a correct answer or not? It is. So yeah, okay, all good. And now we've seen that we've just created a new doc back to the main home flow and back to that prompt. Do you have any question about using Voiceflow? And I can say something like, when was Voiceflow funded, for example? This is not great, 2018, but we don't see a part of it. Definitely not a good answer. So I'm not okay with this. We are creating a new document with the need correction. And this document will not appear in our search next time I ask the same question. So to prove that, when was Voiceflow funded? And we should have another, so that's the exact same one. So it's still not good. We don't like this one. And since when Voiceflow exists? Okay, this one is way better. Let's save that. And so we have made a bunch of turns already. And I can start testing this. So tell me more about Brayden. So remember, we started with who's Brayden, and we got this answer, and we validated that. So what we want to do here is now using our validated answer. And as you can see, we have this no LLM, meaning we're not using LLM anymore. We are not using token to render this because this has been validated. This is part of a new doc we've added to our knowledge base. And the good thing is we will always have this answer. No change. Exactly same for this one. I was not happy with this. So now I will always have this, which is, yeah, a good way to handle what and how you want to or what answer you want to display to your user. So when was Voiceflow funded? No LLM. Voiceflow was found in 2018. And so that way, we've just avoid using LLM each time with the risk of getting an answer like this one. We are just sure that the answer for this kind of question will always be this. And it's not just this very specific question, because as you've seen, we've validated that answer for since when Voiceflow exists. And if I'm using this question, I'm still getting the already existing answer, and we are not using LLM. So as another example, so before doing another one, let's see how our knowledge base looks like. And as you can see, now we have new documents. Those are text. So this is the little trick we've done to use the file upload. Since when Voiceflow was founded, who's Brayden? So now if I ask, who's Brayden? Or tell me more about Brayden. For example, again, this question doesn't need to be the exact same one. This is what we got. Who's Brayden.text, question, who's Brayden, answer, Brayden is the CEO of Voiceflow. And this was the question, so it's not matching this, but we don't really care. What we want is to be sure that we got this new doc, because we are going to use this as it has been flagged as the validated doc. So here, who's Brayden? You can see that the source is the text name whose brand.text with the content, but the tags is validated versus those other chunks. And the score is higher as well. So not only we are going to use the validated one, but also the highest one. So that's why, and because we have the perfect answer and the validated answer, we are not going to use LLM to generate or render this answer. Okay, so just to show you that, again, let's do another run with tell me more about Voiceflow. We don't have a dedicated document for that, so this one is an LLM generated response. That's why we don't have the no LLM debug text here. And that's also why we have the feedback. Is this one correct? Let's say I'm not super happy with this one. I can ask the exact same question to basically use a new LLM pass to render another answer. And that's the case here. You see, same question, but different LLM generated answer. Voiceflow is a platform community versus this one. So the beginning is the same, but here we have some information regarding the arrays, investors and stuff. And here it's more focused on existing knowledge platform, LLM technology, stuff like that. Let's say this one is way better in my opinion. I want to validate that. Okay, this is validated. We've just created a new document for this. What can you say about Voiceflow? And here, no LLM, so we are not using LLM anymore, and we are sure that the answer will be always this one and not this one or another one. So again, it's just like bulletproofing the answer you will get using your knowledge base by adding, so from a main source, from a generic source, generating smaller document with question and answer, if that makes sense. So, and also validating what's the best answer is. So what can you say about Voiceflow? Tell me more about Voiceflow. I'm sure that my user will still always have the same answer. Again, that's the same one. Any info about Voiceflow? Again, always the same answer. I'm not risking any hallucination, LLM question and all stuff. And the good thing is, for those last 3 questions, we didn't use any token at all because the KB API do not use LLM. We are setting the synthesis to false, so we are not using any token to get the chunks, and we are not using any AI step to generate an answer based on those chunks. Again, we have that debug text, no LLM. We are not using any token here anymore. And if I go here, we have a new doc, tell me more about Voiceflow. So this is it. This is something I wanted to share with you to explain how you can leverage all the available knowledge base related APIs. So the KB query, KB upload, KB tags to like optimize your knowledge base and your knowledge base response using dedicated step for that. Let me know what you think about this one, and if you have any question, you can put that in the Discord, and I will be happy to help. And yeah, chat soon. Bye.